You're welcome to yet another edition of OS e-learning platform. OPERO Stephen taking you through today's tutorial, which is about Mathematics 456/1, covering students ranging from Senior 1 up to Senior 4. Today's theme is actually numbers, and this item is coming from one of my students called Elisha Wandeba. He sent me some requests and he wanted some help, and for that, since our slogan is all about sharing, and we agreed that love is sharing and giving, no one should claim that they are with you unless they're in a position to share and also give. And as they give, you should also be in position to give back. So love is sharing and giving. Otherwise, today's item is from Wandeba, and this is the item he sent me. Okay, send me very many items, but we shall split them as per the themes. So here is the item. A school in Kampala is organizing a fundraising event this weekend in which all parents and well-wishers are invited to attend. They plan to sell handmade crafts to raise funds that will be used in the painting of the 4 faces of the wall of the rectangular dining hall, with a base of dimension 8 meters by 10 meters and height 7 meters. The school has 120 crafts. They plan to sell each craft for 50,000. They plan to sell each at 50,000 Ugandani shillings. Since the painting of every, so this is 50,000, please. We can edit that one. Okay, this should be 50,000. So this is a comma, 50,000 Uganda shillings, since the painting of every 2 square meter will cost Uganda shillings 10,000. The crafts are labeled with numbers 243 in base 5, and out of the crafts, 3/5 are made by students. 10% of the remainder are made by the non-teaching staffs and the rest by teachers. All the parents cannot interpret the labels on the craft, but they can if the labels are in binary. The cost of the materials for each craft is 1,250.75 UGX. Task: help the parents and the well-wishers to interpret the label on the crafts. 2. Part B, determine whether or not the school will be able to raise enough funds to paint the building hall. And this is one that I created, though it was not part of this. Calculate the number of crafts made by the students, non-teaching staff, and the teachers. So basically, this is an item that requires basically senior 1 knowledge. So all my friends in senior 1, another food to eat. Here we go. So the expected response, part A, we got to realize that we need to help the parents and the well-wishers to interpret the label now that they can interpret it if it is in binary terms. So since the label is in base 5, so we have to convert to base 10 and finally to base binary, which is base 2. So now for us to convert this, we have to take it to base 10, and this is how we are doing it. We are just repeating what we have in the first slides that I made about number bases. So what we shall do is 2, 4, 3 times 5 each, then that 5 raise it to power starting from 0, 1, 2. From the right to the left, and when you simplify everything, we get a total of 73. Then step 2 is converting 73 to binary base, because 73 is in base 10. Even if I don't write base 10 there, just know it is a base 10. So what are we doing in the next case? We are converting 73 to binary base, and we are dividing this by 2 repeatedly and record the remainders. So that is what we have. And in my table, as you can see, I chose my system to be in such a way that here I will have a base that I'm trying to convert it to. This is the number I'm converting to that base, and these are the remainder I'm going to convert. So I will get my number, I write it 73, and the binary base is 2. So what I will do is 73 divided by 2, I get 36, remainder 1, I will get 36, then the remainder, I write it there. So the same thing, 36 divided by 2, I get 18, I remain with a 0. The same thing, divide by 2, I get a 9, I remain with a 0. 9 divided by 2, I get a 4, remainder 1. 4 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, I get a 2, I remainder 0. 2 divided by 2, I get a 1, remainder 0. Then 0, I beg your pardon, 1 divided by 2, I get actually nothing, which is a 0, but I remain with still that 1. So basically you can see that the rule is very simple. We are going to divide it repeatedly, not until we get a situation where we can't divide anymore. And for that, when you divide that last value, divide it by 2, you actually get a 0, and what you remain with as a remainder is what you write here. So this is what we are going to write as the binary interpretation of 2, 4, 3, base 5, interpreted it in base 2. So 73 in binary is 101, 100, 1001, 001, and that is base 2. So this is base 2. And then we should know that this is base 10. So that is base 10, and therefore it is from the 243, which was in base 5, which was base 5 initially. So we've converted it, and it is now the binary base. The question is, how should we connect it to the scenario? Now that the parents can interpret the converted 243, which is in base 5, to binary base, they're in position now to interpret the labels indicated in terms of 1001001 and base 2. Please write base 2 there. Base 2, base 2. So basically this is senior 1 work that I expect my senior 4 student to just majestically go through it. Anyway, we are continuing with the responses. We want to determine whether or not the school will be able to raise the enough funds to paint the dining hall. So what are we doing? The first step, we need to calculate the total area of the 4 surfaces or 4 faces of the wall. Remember, this is in the box form, that we have the 2 opposite sides that are actually equal. Now that I'm given the dimensions of this hall in terms of the length, width, and height, we can now calculate the total surface area of this hall, since we are going to paint the surface. So the total surface area will be twice the area of 2 faces that are similar. And the area of those 2 surfaces, I will get length times the height. The length times the height. Now there are 2 faces that have the same length and have the same height. Then I will just multiply by 2. Then plus also the other remaining 2 surfaces that have the same width and the same height. So I still multiply that, and guess what? I will get a total of 252 square meters. So that is the total surface area of that hall. In the next case, I actually need to know the cost of painting the dining hall. And how am I doing this? Now, since per 2 square meters they are charging 10,000, painting it 10,000, it means if I get the total square area of 252 divide by 2, I will get now the total money that is required for painting the 252 square meter area, that surface. Or else you can look for the cost of each square meter. So there are 2 alternatives. Here I just decided to go through it straight. However, you can take by determining the cost of each square meter, and then you get the result. You do what? You multiply it by the 250 square meters. So now here, for me, I just went through very fast. So the cost, I will get the total area divided by 2 times the cost per 2 square meters, and I have got something similar to that amount. 1,260,000. 1,260,000 Uganda shillings. In the next step, we need to determine the revenue from selling the crafts. So the total revenue is equal to the number of crafts made times the selling price per craft. We can vividly see that they made 120, and each craft is being sold at 50,000. We agreed about the cost, selling cost or selling price for each craft, and on multiplying we are getting 6 million Uganda shillings. So calculating the total cost of materials for the craft such that we confirm whether the school will be in position to raise the fund. So the total cost equal number of crafts times cost per craft. So I will have something similar to that, which I will get the total number of crafts, that is 120 times the Uganda shillings 1,250.75 shillings. That is a cost per craft, and that will give me 150,090 Ugandan shillings. So in the next step, I will calculate the net profit from selling the crafts. Net profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. In other words, total selling price minus total buying price. And that will be 6 million minus 150,090 Uganda shillings. And that will give me a total amount of 5,849,910 Uganda shillings. So now I'm determining whether the school will raise enough funds. Since the net profit, we can see that the net profit is about 5 million and above, and that is 5,849,910 Uganda shillings, which is actually greater than the cost of painting. Remember, the cost of painting, initially we had it as 1,260,000 Uganda shillings. So since the 5 million is greater than 1 million plus, then the school will raise enough funds. So now in the next case, I will just calculate the number of crafts made by students, non-teaching staff, and teachers. So that is part C, and for us to respond to that, I just need to interpret. We get to realize that 3 of 5 of the crafts were made by the students, and that is 72 crafts. 3 out of 5 of 120, that will give me 72. So the remaining craft, that is 120 minus 70 to get the remainder. I always challenge my student that once you get that statement of remaining, it means that from the total you have to subtract what has already been calculated. As you can see that the crafts made by the students were actually 3 out of 5 of the total, and that is now 72. Now the remainder is getting the total crafts minus what the students made. So that is the remainder that you're going to treat. Please, I urge you, my students, candidates, be careful with the remainder aspect of it. It is senior one work and sometimes challenges us. So the crafts made by the non-teaching staff, of course, we agreed that's 10% of 48 of the remainder, and 10% is like 10 over 100, and that is 0.1 times 48, and that is 4.8. Now, this is where your reasoning should also jump in or pop in, and this is what I'm saying. You can't have 4.80 crafts having a half a craft or 0.8 crafts, and that is quite vividly not possible. And what we shall do is to round it to 5 rounding it to 5, meaning to 0 decimal place or to 1 significant figure. If you missed that video that talks about significant figures, decimal places, scientific notations, please check. So this is now the language that we should be talking. 4.8 is how many? 2 significant figures, 1 decimal place. When you round it to 5, you're making 1 decimal place, 1 significant figure and 0 decimal place. And then we can see that we shall have 5 crafts made by the non-teaching staff. And if you add 72 plus 48 plus 5, guess what? We shall go back to 120. Since we can't have a fraction of craft, we have to round. So the crafts made by the teachers, we shall have 48 minus 5, 43 crafts. So now we can see that crafts made by the student, remaining crafts is 48, but out of that, the non-teaching staff is making 5 of them, and then the craft made by the teachers is 43. Now what we are going to add to prove our answer is basically 43 plus 5 plus 72. I repeat, 43 plus 5 plus 72. And that will make a total of 120. Because there are 3 departments making the crafts: the students, the non-teaching staffs, and the teaching staffs. So basically that is what we can do as far as the item is concerned. And please wait for another tutorial that talks about item number 2. Alicia, be patient. I will upload all of them. And thank you so much for taking the initiative. Here we are learning as a team. And I repeat, love is sharing and giving. If I as a teacher claim I love my students, then I have to share knowledge with you. And also you have to share knowledge with me. I mean, if as a parent you claim you love your student, you love your children, then you have to share. So this is the slogan. Otherwise, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. We meet in the next episode.